Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us today as we learn about how to scale your MSP without pulling your hair out. This is part one of a three-part series. Today, we are going to be focused on growth. So just a couple of housekeeping things. You'll see down at the bottom of your screen a poll. Just go on there and go ahead and answer that when you have a moment. And if you have a question during the webinar, please put it in the Ask a Question section so that I don't lose it over here in the chat. We definitely want y'all to be super interactive and involved in this, and we're just really looking forward to presenting this awesome information to you. Today, we are joined with Joe Alapat and Adam Slutskin of Liongard. Joe is our CEO and founder, and Adam is our CRO. And without further ado, I will give it over to them. Enjoy the content, guys. I think you're going to love it.
Thank you, Cynthia. Glad to be here with you all to share knowledge. I've personally gained from operating an MSP for 10 plus years. And now since running an MSP software company, I've learned a lot more. And I think this is so important for you all that you work with software partners that really understand your business model. I like to call it MSP DNA. And this is why we are so focused on unleashing teams, specifically MSP teams, to operate at 10x. And what I want to do is hand it off to Adam so he can introduce himself. Adam.
Hey, for everybody that doesn't know me, Adam Slutskin, the guy with the horrible last name. If you've never met me, maybe you've heard the name pop up. It is real. I got asked yesterday again, is that your real name? And I did say, I don't know why I would ever fake having a name like that. But I've been in the MSP ecosystem now for 14 years. Love working with MSPs, love helping focus on growth, and like I like to say, it really doesn't matter if you're a vendor, an MSP, anybody, growth and growing revenue is similar approach. And you always start with one. So with that, right back over to you, Joe.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah. So, you guys know that the title of this whole series, it's a three-part series, and it's how to scale your MSP without pulling your hair out. So we want your head to look like Adam's, not like mine at the end of the day. At least more like Adam's. So he's not going to tell you anything else over there. And you don't know whether that's a wig. Yeah. But anyway, but no, I'm excited about this presentation because it's the first time that Adam and I have co-presented. I feel like I've worked with him for a lifetime in a span of a short period of time, but we haven't actually co-presented before. So this is fun. And neither of us are known for being brief. So we've decided to pack 10 hours of presentation time into about 45, 50 minutes or so. So wish us luck. And let's get started. So let's do this. So, why are we here? It's because we all see this amazing opportunity in the MSP market. And we all want to grow, right? So we want to grow. You guys want to grow. And there's this huge mountain to climb. And we all know it's a journey, right? So, and along that journey, there's going to be some awesome milestones. There's going to be some tough spots that you're going to hit. And along the way, hopefully you appreciate every part of that process. And I can relate all kinds of stories, both from the MSP side and the MSP software side, where I did manage to lose a lot of that hair. So how do we grow an MSP, right? So let's dig into that formula. Let's talk about some of the basics before we dig into some more complex stuff. So really, there's three surefire ways to grow your managed services business. You're going to, number one, find new business, and you're going to price based on value. Number two, you're going to retain and grow existing relationships. And number three, you can merge and acquire other MSPs, which we're seeing a lot of happening this past year. And I'm sure there's probably several MSPs on this session right now that have probably acquired many MSPs or been acquired. And so from my standpoint, my own MSP was acquired twice over, which is just crazy, but that's the kind of environment we live in. So, so the fun part is a 3-part mini series, and this is part 1. And today we're going to cover number 1, which is finding new business. So let's go climb that mountain. And I love having slides like this in decks because it's awesome to have this kind of a view. So let's take a moment, to admire that view from the top. And this is something we call celebrating the wins. Here's why I think we should take a moment to celebrate. The global managed services market is going to be $320 billion by 2024. It's crazy even, thinking about that number, but seeing the market size continue to climb the way it's done we full well expected it. We thought we were very bullish. It just continues at this torrid pace. And I just want you guys to know, pat yourself in the back, because rest assured, you picked a solid industry to be in. This industry is growing. It's growing rapidly. It's receiving a lot of attention, and it's awesome. Adam, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just pointing up. It's growing.
I love it. Up and to the right. So that's awesome. So, going from that peaceful view, really what I want to mention is, well, what are some other important things to note? 2020 has been a crazy year, and that's an absolute understatement. You all know that March and April 2020 are going to be memorable ones for all MSPs globally, because it was a roller coaster ride. We got to chat with so many of you all. We experienced it as an end customer ourselves, as well as servicing MSPs. We experienced something really crazy. It's stressful, it's unique. And guess what? We survived, and that makes us much more resilient, right? It makes us anti-fragile. So congratulations for that. And what we saw was digital transformation in action in a span of a few days and a few weeks, right? We had people I know of stories where end companies actually took their desktops home, plugged it in at home, and then called their MSP and said, what do we do now? And it's hilarious to hear stories like that. But this is the world we kind of live in, is that everyone had to work remote in an instant scenario. And so, the resulting changes in the IT landscape are dramatic. Your customers that had SaaS and collaboration solutions in place that were just catching dust. For example, SharePoint's a good example. Other tools like Slack and Teams, maybe they were using, maybe they weren't. But guess what? That adoption happened at a really rapid pace, because you needed it. It was your lifeblood, right? As an end business, as an MSP, as any business, you can't live without these collaboration tools and the ability to operate and communicate with each other in a ready way. And so this is something that, at Liongard, we predicted this transition would happen. We just never guessed it would happen this quickly, right? It's crazy. We're changing our roadmap, as we speak, to speed it up, to catch up with what we just saw happen this year. And so there's a lot of opportunity for those that decide to jump on it, because there is this blue ocean that I like to speak of opportunities for an MSP to do so much more for their customers, and to really, be that digital expert for the end customer. So, the other thing to note is IT talent is super hard to find, unless, of course, you're hiring kids. Adam and I both have ready and willing volunteers. Both of us have kids. And, what I know to be true is that, tech talent wants to be with other sharp tech talent. This puts MSPs in a better situation than internal IT environments. This is where tech folks want to work. They want to be able to work with other folks, learn with other folks that really, get excited about that technology. And what it does is it also creates a ton of opportunity for you all to address a talent shortage that your end customers are facing, right? You have that talent, and you just need to figure out, how am I going to take the talent that I do have and spread it across a growing customer base? And so that's definitely something that we believe, this is where Liongard can help with regards to automation. But we think there's so many big, strong vendors out there that are helping you guys in making that magic happen. And really, all of these factors are driving money and attention on the MSP industry, right? Private equity is making a push into the MSP market. You've got companies like Datto going public. MSPs are acquiring other MSPs. It's just an amazing amount of activity that it's just not normal to see this in an industry at such a crazy pace. And it's exciting, right? It's at the same time, it keeps you on your toes, because you're trying to look around the corner and you're trying to predict what's happening, and these curveballs are happening. And Adam loves to do this. He loves to try to make predictions as to who's going to acquire who next and what's going to happen next. And it's hilarious to kind of hear his theories at times. But I mean, this is the world we live in. So let's
theories are better than conspiracies. How's that?
Theories are better than conspiracies.
Theory mode. Yeah.
I like that. I like that quote. I think I'm gonna have to steal that quote. That's good. So let's dig in, and no good presentation wouldn't have a fine little spreadsheet snapshot. But one of the things we want to share with you all here, and thank you for zooming that in, Cynthia, is that we think it's important to measure your own performance and chart a path. So for this presentation, we actually put together an Excel workbook that we're going to share with you all to help you with scenario planning. And we think it's important to self-assess, determine the levers you can pull, and then, figure out how you're going to make visible progress with those levers. And those boxes, colored in yellow, are really a big part of some of those levers that you're able to pull to be able to drive outcomes that are listed below. And the way that we think about visible progress at our business is, figure out how to not demoralize your team and think about, these best practices metrics about, a best-in-class MSP is X. And you look at your numbers and you're like, okay, I'm running short here, here, and here. I'm doing all right over here. But really the thought process is, how do I make incremental progress to head in that direction? And so this workbook is really meant to give you guys a way to play around with some of those levers and then see the impact on important outcomes, such as recurring revenue per employee. This is something that you really ought to understand and figure out, how am I going to drive that up? How about the gross profit per employee? And, how about, and what are the ways that we can think about tweaking that? And you think about, okay, well, what if I targeted customers that have a few more employees on average? Or what if I raise my price from 110 per user to, let's say, 115 or 120 per user? And what happens if I increase the number of managed services customers, which we'll talk about today? And what's the impact to my business? And so I'm excited to share that workbook with you all. That'll go out after this presentation, probably on Friday. And we'll share that with you so you can actually play around with these levers and then put your numbers in at the top and actually see what those impacts would be like. So, and it's going to be something that we're going to continue to advance forward. And it's meant to be a planning tool and something that I wish I had when I operated my MSP. So I'm super excited about that. And I'll tell you why, because I see a lot of parallels between MSPs and SaaS B2B businesses. If you're familiar with the SaaS B2B business, it's a very similar business model to the managed service provider. It's all about recurring revenue. And there's a lot of big metrics that you have to be monitored by. And since, we decided to raise capital, we have a board that we speak to, we present these metrics. I'm trying to figure out a way that those SaaS B2B metrics can be applied against an MSP in the same manner, because an MSP is the closest thing in my mind to a SaaS B2B business. And that puts you guys on really strong footing, because that recurring service business model is really the piece that drives your valuation and stability. And we've seen that through this year of COVID, right? That, the work from home and all these changes, that your managed services revenue has held strong on the average, where we saw a lot of dips and peaks and valleys with regards to project services, which does provide value. So a lot of good stuff here. And we're going to walk through today a little bit about, how, pulling some of those levers is going to, how you can actually, pull some of those levers So when we, think about acquiring new customers, this slide is interesting, this picture, because when a customer is trying to buy from a vendor, it looks complicated like this. It's like this complex board game where you're going through this windy path, and your job as a vendor, and same thing from us, is to make that journey really simple. From a marketing standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from an onboarding and operations standpoint, how do you just make it really easy for a prospective customer to sign on and do business with you, right? You generally, you don't want it to look all this windy, there's a lot of nice pretty colors here. You want it to make it look simple for them to come on board. And at the same time, it needs to be simple for your business as well. So for your own operations, so that, when you close a large deal, your onboarding team is doing high fives as well, and not grumbling, saying, oh my God, not another customer I've got on board. That's the kind of stuff that, I've dealt with. We want everyone excited about that. So how can we do that? How can we make that happen so that everyone celebrates that win and we move on this simple journey and move forward? So when we think about how you get started, you really have to think about establishing your target audience and figure out your ideal customer profile. If you haven't heard that term, ICP, you have to think about who's your sweet spot customer, the type of customer that really resonates with you. And it really, you can look at your own customer base and you can figure it out. You can say, wow, our team just loves working with these customers, and and they grow, and they're resilient, and they love what we offer for them. And so when you think about an ideal customer profile, I always tell folks, don't look externally and try to emulate somebody else. Look to your own strengths and look to your own customers and find out which ones you really like. And then say, okay, well, what makes them so good? And then go off and copy that, because what's the best thing you can do is make it consistent so that your team is operating in a way that's like, hey, I know this, I got this, this is easy because this customer behaves a lot like these other customers that we manage. And that's the best thing you can do for your own team, right? So identifying specific industries, that's important, but obviously in the learning from this year, maybe not focus specifically on only one vertical, because it could get hit unexpectedly by some unforeseen situation. So you got to have a decent amount of diversification. Decide on geographic areas, which is interesting now because of work from home. We're predicting that a lot of MSPs are going to be able to do remote support and think outside of their geographic boundary. This is a whole new concept. So we've been theorizing about, okay, are we going to start to see this happen in a massive way? I don't think it's going to be rapid, but I think we're going to start to see MSPs operating outside of their geographic boundaries. And then understand the value of focusing on growth-oriented businesses. Because think about this is really obvious, but you just got to think, if I do business with an end customer that grows and adds headcount, and my business model is based on a per headcount model, guess what? Your automatic price point, right? Your annual contract value of that customer is going to just naturally rise. And that's the best way that you can increase your revenue and profitability, is by doing just what you're doing right now, which is do business with your customer and let them grow, and then be that digital transformation expert for them to enable that growth. So, really interesting stuff there. And this is why we're focused on driving growth for MSPs ourselves and getting you all to grow, because we grow with you, right? And so we want you all to succeed, add more customers. So how can we make that happen? And we see that as a virtuous cycle. So then how can you do the same for your end customers to let them grow? Why? Because it drives your own profitability and revenue. So lots of interesting thoughts there. And what I'm going to finish off with here before I hand it off to Adam to get into some of the deeper stuff here is defining your value proposition. Really think about how you differentiate yourself and how you price your offering. So if you've seen me speak before, I talk about the Blue Ocean Strategy book. This book, I keep it by my side, and there's a concept called the strategy canvas. If you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it, and do a strategy canvas on your business to figure out what truly differentiates you than the other players in the market. And then think about how you can price your offering. And one of the tricks that I've seen a lot of smart MSPs do is they test that new pricing against the new customers. They don't try to create havoc with their current customers. Get those new customers to pay up for the new offering, and price based on that value. And then you can figure out your way to gradually showcase that value to your current customers and not fight the fight with them just yet, because you're figuring it out with those new customers first. And what I found is that tends to be a pretty successful way to get pricing increased. And then, maintain consistent positioning. And, you really got to focus on, website conversions and doing, events and marketing, things that Adam will speak to you about around how do you generate, those leads so that you can go off and drive business. And so there's me setting the stage, and I'm going to hand it off to Adam to tell you, how to run with it from there. So Adam, I'm gonna let you talk about tracking and managing leads and taking it off.
Yeah, real quick before, and then if blow up the slides so we can focus on some of the content. But I do want to just cherry pick on a couple things there. One, still too many MSPs. By the way, for anybody on this call, you can always hit me up on LinkedIn, or if you have my email. I love working and helping MSPs kind of go through some discussion and strategy, just around growth. It could be anything. I've done interviews of prospective salespeople, helping create compensation strategies, talking about scaling, price changes. And I will let you know an interesting fact. When all the MSPs I've helped with raising prices, pretty proud to say out of all of them collectively, we lost one client. And that one client that this one MSP in Orlando lost was one that they admitted they should have probably lost, a long time ago. So if you're driving value, don't be afraid of that. The other thing I wanted to cherry pick on a little bit is, obviously now I think with things changing, there's more automation out there, like with what we do, Liongard, lots of automation. On the vendor side, we've known forever. How many times has a MSP vendor popped into your office? Never. And we've always done great business. So over the last few years, I've worked with MSPs that have started to extend their offering outside of their geographical area and into regions where they never do meet them. And so just wanted to at least leave you guys with that. If you're thinking about some areas where to grow, if you want to start to think about some other regions, I've certainly been a part of helping them and seeing them do it. And so something to think about. All right. If you can blow up the screen, expand the slide. Thank you. All right. So everybody here has a system of record at this point. When I go back to my early ConnectWise days, it was amazing how many people we did still meet who were doing it in spreadsheets, Lotus Notes, all kinds of stuff. But today, at this point, pretty much everybody has a system of record. So normally we would say PSA, but some of you are not using one of the PSAs and you're using some of the other tools, HubSpot, which is what we use here. You may be using Salesforce, you may be using ServiceNow. So we're seeing some of those things. And you've got to have a system of record. And as I've worked with many MSPs over the last 14 years or so, it's amazing how when we would do some on-site visit or we're doing some screen shares and we talk about how are you tracking all of this information, and they bring up the spreadsheet, and you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of tough because it's not real time. You don't save it. You can't aggregate a lot of data the way you can. I know you're going to say, hey, Adam, you're wrong. We can put filters on. Trust me, I do the same thing when I'm looking at numbers. But when I'm really starting to look into the data and the detail, you've got to have a system of record. You got to monitor progress. You got to have reporting capabilities. You got to be able to qualify your leads. You've got to be able to track all of this. And a lot of times when I really do start working with someone, it really is the first thing that we tackle is just let's get that system of record set up. I'm familiar with all of them. I'll talk to the primary ones in the MSP space, whether it's ConnectWise and Autotask. If you're using BMS at Kaseya, those are kind of the three you see the most. There's Harmony out there. Some of you may have that. They're all really good and they all have the ability to do these things. All right, next thing. Establish revenue targets. So here's another one. And if anybody follows any of my LinkedIn blatherings, I talk a lot about this. And, I get asked frequently, hey, should I assign quota? Well, I think the answer is right there. The answer should be no. One, do you even know what realistic goals are? Have you put in the effort? So many in this industry, we get the A++ on technologists, being technologists, but sometimes maybe we don't, as an ecosystem, do a good enough job of really driving down into the numbers, and putting that same thought into what are the goals, right? And by the way, what are the achievable goals? If you're a 2 million, MSP today, honestly, and you tell me, okay, your goal is you want to be 20 million next year. First of all, love to see it. A lot of ways to get there. Tell me you're going to go buy a 15 million, dollar MSP and then fill in the gap. But so, what are those, achievable goals? Not that they're not stretches, but that you can solve for them. And I live, I've been doing this 21 years on the sales side. I think it's 22 years now. And I've really always aligned to that, guys. Achievable goals. There's nothing gained by creating these unrealistic goals that nobody can hit. It's going to create stress throughout the entire organization. It doesn't matter what size you are. You have one sales rep, you're owner-led, you're going to stress yourself out. You have 20 sales reps, you're a vendor. If there's some vendors on here, won't matter. So, and some of those things that we want to consider is understanding, managed services versus project work and versus break fix. And so one example is when I've helped the MSPs over the years build some of these objectives for them, some comp plans, is understanding those different moving parts and understanding where we want to grow in each one and backing into, how are we going to get there? Right now, a couple things. I may have this in the slide later on, but I do want to make sure I call it out. You have existing customers, right, who you are the trusted advisor for. And then, of course, you have prospects. Low-hanging fruit, existing customers. How do we continue to expand that revenue? When I talked to you earlier, I talked a little bit about how one thing is raising prices. I work with some MSPs, and some of you no disrespect, if some of you are still this low, call me, but maybe you're doing an all-you-can-eat, and their pricing was like more in the 75, user pricing range, offering the same tools and the same solution stack that a lot of you are offering in the all-you-can-eat. That's more maybe in that 125 to 150 per user. So there was some low-hanging fruit there for sure that we could do from price raise, but of course, yes, I think a lot of you are getting better at understanding not everything needs to sit in that all you can eat. I know a lot of you are breaking out into your security bundles and offerings. And I can tell you from talking to, so many of you on a consistent basis, being the vendor that works with all of you, is that, yeah, you guys are doing it. You're having success and your clients really do want those tools. So again, make sure you're understanding the different ways to get there, the different levers you can pull on. You have customers, you have prospects, you have managed services, project work, break fix, a lot of things there to consider on how you can, start to set those goals that you want to have for next year. And then, of course, the last thing is just segmenting your growth goals by industry and geography. We talked about some diversification. I've worked really tough, man. If you love this space, and I know Joe and I, we just love it. I love being part of the MSP space, and that empathy we all carry for each other, which you don't get in the non-MSP space, which I used to be in, is working with MSPs that were in maybe just the hospitality industry, and my heart bled for them, not going to lie. And so understanding that diversification of industries, but sometimes geography, sometimes certain geographies will struggle for certain reasons specific to those geographies. So as you're able to diversify, you can protect some of that revenue growth that you've put out there, and so that it becomes more achievable.
Really good points, Adam. It's awesome.
Okay, defining roles. So if you're small, I get it, and we can start there. But if we're talking about growth here, so as we grow, by the way, when we started Liongard, we had one sales rep. Then we added what's called a BDR, business development rep, what you would traditionally call your inside sales rep, who's doing a lot of the heavy prospecting. Maybe you're targeting a city. We're targeting Pittsburgh, or we're targeting doctor's offices, right? And so this person's going to work in their system of record, do a very high volume of calls. Generally 60 to 70 a day is a good solid number. Some will go higher depending if they get a lot of voicemail, a lot of connects, some of that volume goes down. But the more you can start to think growth, and as you diversify, think about it. I'm your salesperson. I'm your BDR. I got to sit there and make a lot of calls, right? I'm the sales rep. Then I got to run over there. Then I got to go, work with them. And hopefully you're starting to do a lot of this remotely, but I'm doing the demo. And then of course, now if I'm also the account manager, so I've got to go, catch the dragon. I used to say kill it, but then you guys called me out and said, well, how can you nurture the dragon if you kill it? All right. So you got to catch the dragon, right? The hunter. And then of course, then the account manager got to nurture it. So that doesn't always work. They're different roles. They don't always work. If you're going to think about growth, you want to think about diversification of some of these roles. I know some from working with you guys, sometimes you get scared. It's like, but we're going to add cost. You're not going to add cost. You're going to add growth. I started with one sales rep. Then I added a BDR. Then I added another BDR and sales rep. And then you keep doing that. And I've built on that. And where you stop, maybe I'm not going to get as big as Microsoft. And just like maybe yours doesn't get as big as where mine is, but make no mistake, we all start with one. And so understanding these differences and how you can break it out, that's how you're also going to drive growth. Make sure they're trained. Another classic mistake. MSP world, they call me up. I got a guy, a person. It's got the Rolodex. We'll say digital Rolodex now, right? They got it. They got the contact list. And they're just going to come in and kill it. And then they stick them in the corner. Actually, I've done site visits seeing this. And literally their salesperson is sitting in a corner with no windows, looking into the corner. And I'm like, doomed for failure. So please, please, please train them, invest. What's a good lead time for a salesperson? You really want to get a good salesperson. It's never changed. Been doing it 22 years. It's 3 to 6 months. Yes, you got to do all those other things. And we're going to talk about a few other things. We got to monitor them. We got to monitor the progress. We have to do all of those things. But if we do that, we will start to see some of that, some of those results. And the last thing, because you hear me talk about it a lot, create fair and attainable commission plans that drive motivation. When you come in and let's say I give you a quota, I'm making up numbers, they don't really mean anything. But let's say the reasonable attainment is 500,000 in revenue created. And I give you a quota of 2 million. Salespeople quickly can see the math and realize they have no chance. Resistance is futile. They'll never make it. You've demotivated them before they can even get started. So understand what's real. Let's say that we really believe we can see the road to an achievable attainment of 500,000, right? Maybe, it's going to require a little bit of work. Maybe we can stretch it a little bit. We feel we've got the 500K nailed. You can make it 550. Don't make it 900. They have no chance, right? Unless you're going to be able to provide the roadmap to, if they execute, we have enough marketing budget, we're creating enough leads, we're attending the local events, right? So all of those things.
I think just a point on that one, Adam, is, I see Jared did a shout out to Sean, and it's awesome because Sean actually was my one. He was the first like real salesperson or MSP that I was like, oh, this is what someone in sales is supposed to do. And we went through so many iterations before that, and it took us forever. And, if you've interacted with Sean on our team, you know how passionate he is about, just getting the message out there and then really just showing you guys the value. And it's interesting when you meet a salesperson like Sean, and you guys probably have somebody like that on your team or are searching for somebody like that. It's awesome, right? They're trained. They know what they need to do. They have a cultural fit and alignment. So I love these points, Adam.
By the way, and you should run away from the used car salesperson. Those aren't professional salespeople. And the good thing is there's a lot more professional salespeople. It's a craft. We live in data. You're consultative. You say no more than yes. You seek to understand versus the used car salesperson, which sometimes they do wind up on your team there for a little while. They'll slither their way in and say, yeah, I got the Rolodex, man. I got this, man. I'm a numbers guy. I got this, man. I got this. And in the end, a lot of times 99% of the time won't work out, so that's where, again, we could spend a whole nother session on that. But if you really want to have some discussion on how to identify what I believe is a good sales prospect up front, just reach out to me. All right. Can you blow it up? All right. So inspect what you expect, right? A little twist on words there, but you got to track the activity and results. You've got it. This is what I was just talking about. Real salespeople understand the data. You understand the numbers. You understand conversion rates. I know that if I put 50 good opportunities out there and I trend at a 40% close rate at an average deal size of 500 and I have a quota of 20,000 MR, I'm going to hit my numbers, right? And so you've got to be able to do this as a owner, or if you're the sales leader, designated sales leader, sales manager at the MSP, you got to do these things. And you have to be methodical, guys. The same way we are with our technology, we have to be that same way. We have to have those weekly meetings. We have to have the data. We have to be able to present the data. Whatever you're using, if you're using Bright Gauge and catching metrics, if you're using one of the PSAs, obviously I lived in the PSA when I was at ConnectWise that scaled for me up to 300 people. We were all on ConnectWise. I know it was the same for my counterparts at Autotask. And so it's that same thing. And we used all of those reports, all of that visible progress that we could see, but that we could put in front of them, and that we, methodically reviewed and presented to the sales team, regardless of the different roles. So you got to measure the activity. You got to understand your won-loss numbers. You've got to coach for success. Praise the wins. Listen, basic rule here: nobody ever wins with a beatdown. You can hit me later. I was a military guy for 22 years, active in reserve. The beatdowns never worked. As a military leader, I never beat anybody down, because you know what you're going to get. I'm going to intimidate them into not doing their job well. Reward publicly, reprimand privately. Reward publicly, reprimand privately. Coach for success. Praise those wins. Wins are hard to get, when you know all the numbers. So we want to give them the added person so that they want to go and do it again. By the way, jump on the calls periodically. Nobody knows your company, the technology, better than you. Jump on, listen to the message, make sure they are nailing it, and then coach. Give them the feedback. Let them know, hey, you were pretty good in this area, but this is really how we talk about assessments. And so just be able to get out there and coach, roll up the sleeves. Don't be afraid of the salesperson. I promise they won't bite. And here's the hardest thing. Listen, nobody ever wants to cut anybody, but underperformers, they're just that. They're probably in the wrong role. And, if you try to ride them too long and too hard, you're just not going to hit those goals that you set for yourself. So there is a time when you have to cut the underperformers.
Yeah. So Adam's focused on, getting the right people, focusing on, the leads before that. And then you really got to set goals, and then you got to keep inspecting, right? To set expectations, and then keep rejiggering and repointing and making sure that we're in the right spot. And, what I'd like to do is dig into, okay, well, so the salesperson's got a lead, right? They've got somebody, they've got a prospective customer, and you've got to figure out, okay, what am I going to do to optimize the close of the sale? Now, this might be a good time for us to go to that poll. Cynthia, what was our biggest answer here? Okay, I'm pulling it up.
Can you see it?
Yeah, so it's you want to read it off to me?
So what's the biggest challenge in adding new customers? And it looks like 61% was difficulty conveying the value of MSPs to new customers. And then behind that at 27.8 was analysis paralysis on what's the best path forward. But definitely looks like the value of MSPs is the biggest challenge there.
Okay, so that answer is interesting. That's telling. So what that means is one of two things. You're trying to go after a customer that maybe had a horrible experience with another MSP, right? That's one, right? And then the other is you're going after a customer that has only worked with internal IT and has not worked with a managed service provider. So those are the two situations. So the easier one of those two is really the one that worked with a horrible MSP. And here's why. They understand the business model, right? They get it. And they know that, in their heart, they know it's like, okay, there's got to be somebody better out there. So on that matter, if they had an MSP before, dig in, ask tons of questions and listen and go, be empathetic and go, I feel you. I know what you went through. This is, what's so important to us is to address those types of things and really show them and tell them stories about how it is that you differentiate yourself and address those issues, right? So that's, I could go on and on about that, but that's if they had a horrible experience with another MSP. And it's a great time to show off customer satisfaction ratings. If you're taking those, make sure you have a one sheet or some data to share with them, or better yet, testimonials and quotes in a one sheet that says, hey, here's customers that have talked about, what they think about our service, right? So that's horrible MSP experience. The other is internal IT, right? And so there's a line that Sean loves to use on our team, which is, we never call in sick, right? And that's a great line as an MSP that you can use with a customer that has maybe a single internal IT resource and go, hey, we don't call in sick. We're going to be there. And it's not one person that you're hinging all of your technology on. And that's something that's really important as far as messaging, to talk about that. Guess what? What happens when that IT resource quits, right? It's one of you can tell them stories about how you came in as the phoenix out of the fire in so many situations where you helped a customer because they had that situation. A good chunk of our customers came on board when their internal IT resource quit, because that's when they had that moment. They're like, oh God, okay, this has got to end. I got to work with a provider. I can't deal with this anymore. And then the other is, you can always tell them, okay, let me show you the experts that we have. We cover Microsoft 365. We cover endpoint security. We cover Active Directory. We cover SQL Server. We cover this. We cover that. Okay, do you have one person on your team that can literally be the expert at all those things? No, it's impossible. They can't be the expert at all of those things. That's why the MSP business model works, because we have those experts, and only a team can have that expertise. And you have the strength of a team, not an individual, to guide you through this huge thing called digital transformation. Well, guess what? Your competitors are getting all this value out of the technology, and you need to be worried about that. And there's an opportunity for you, right? So there's lots of focus there. And really, when we think about this pre-sale process, that's a great time to talk about that. And this is something that, I come from the days of doing manual assessments, using rapid fire, using the RMM, using all the tools. And, whether you work with us or not, what I always, tell folks is find ways to discover as much about the environment, both from interviewing the customer and understanding the qualitative side, but also from an automated standpoint. From our side with Liongard, we want to make that automated stuff just like, hey, that's like you should have that information at hand, and that should be ready. Why? Because you want to spend more face time showcasing to the customer that you can listen, right? That is the number one thing that customer wants to know. This person listens, and this business is actually going to hear my pain, and they're going to respond. And if you can do that in the background, do all that technical magic and go, oh, by the way, while I was talking to you, we've automatically assessed the environment. We've got this data. You come back very quickly because time kills deals, right? So you got to respond quickly. Come back with a roadmap and recommendations for them to say, hey, guys, we know your tech stack. Here's what's going to happen, right? And here's what we recommend. And we also listened to you, and we found out that these are key things you want to have done. And you marry those two together into a proposal that looks like just like a perfect fit for them. They're like, wow, I've never seen a proposal like this. These guys understand our business. They know what we need to have done, and they're the perfect vendor for us, right? That's your job to make that happen. And so, and at the same time, you got to figure out how to scope, that relationship with them, right? So you should already have tiers theoretically, but make sure you don't underscope. That's the worst thing that can happen. Have a really good customer and then underprice it somehow because you want the deal so bad, and then end up going, oh my God, I regret this, because my folks are saying this deal is not profitable, right? And there's a graph that we sometimes have in our deck where at the very end of the day, someone says, who sold this deal? This is ridiculous. We're upside down on this thing. And you don't want that to happen, especially with a great prospect. So, you guys are providing value. Flex that, and your price should also showcase that. Because if you sell yourself short, the customer is going to think that you're selling a second-rate service. So make sure that they can value that, right? And so finally, when you're past that phase and you are now in a mode of actually bringing that customer on, you want to reduce that onboarding time, right, from weeks to hopefully hours, right? And again, it's the same thing. Spend the face time. Make sure that the onboarding process for all the documentation, all the getting the configuration management database up to date, I hope you have all that stuff automated. If you don't, you need to check Liongard out, and you need to figure out how to get all that stuff done. And this is not because we love the whiz-bang technology. It's because we want you all spending that time with the customer, right? You want to spend time, FaceTime with them to make sure that they realize, hey, I closed the deal and then I disappear. No, you got to show them, no, I'm going to spend time with you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to onboard you, and I value your relationship. And so what that means is all that other stuff, magic that's going on behind the scenes, automate the heck out of it, right? And so check out a demo from our team, and you'll see how we automate those things. Why? So you can spend that time with the customer, right? So all this stuff happens behind the scenes. And on top of that, it better be up to date all the time, because nobody on your team wants to keep up with documentation or looking at systems to manually create tickets. Get those automated alerts rolling. And without a doubt, one of the cool things we've rolled out, just this week, is the Power BI integration on top of the BrightGauge integration. We now have the ability to report with Power BI on top of Liongard, and you're going to see more reporting coming. And that's something that you know that you need more of, right? You need simplified access to that data from all those systems to get you to insight very quickly. And you couldn't get it fast enough, right? It drives you crazy because you're shoulder tapping your most expensive resource and go, hey, Frank, hey, can you tell me how many things have we got in Microsoft 365? Because I got to make sure the billing's right. Come on. It's about to be 2021. That stuff should be automated. You shouldn't have to shoulder tap anybody. Let's get the show on the road, right? I don't know, Adam, you got anything to add to any of that?
No, I think you dropped the mic. Well said.
All right. No, I mean, I think this is something you can obviously tell we're very passionate about. It's something that, we really feel digital transformation globally is going to be done through MSPs. It's not going to be done through internal IT environment. And here's why. It's back to that original point. Technology talent wants to be with technology talent. They want to be on your team. They want to work with other technologists, and they're headed your way. And those folks need to be given a bionic arm so they can manage across more customers. And that's what we're about, right? That's what we're trying to deliver for you all, is to take your most amazing talent and get them out of the drudgery and get them to insight and deliver all of those holiday presents to their customers, to your customers, so that they're actually doing much, much more with technology. So all really good stuff. And, just as a closing thought here, what we're going to tell you is get started, get started now. Identify your audience, define your value prop, leverage your website, use that CRM. And, as Adam said, you got to define those sales roles, create a fair commission plan, hire for culture and personality. Many of you guys are probably either on EOS or considering EOS or heard of it. We're an EOS company as well. I highly recommend a framework like that for your business that helps you think about your vision, about your mission, your culture, your core values. Those are so important. You got to track success. You got to coach. And then wherever possible, you need to automate, right? Optimize all the way from pre-sales all the way to billing. The whole journey underneath the hood should be automated so that your team is getting to insight and they're spending face time with the customer, delighting them, because that's what they should be doing. So, one of the things that you guys should note is with this webinar, we're going to actually ship out a ebook, for y'all that attended. And this is one that I'm really excited about, that we've had for a little while, the marketing and sales best practices. It's really relevant for this topic. And then this new Excel calculator workbook that is going to be a work in progress. We're going to keep improving it. And we want this to be a way for you all to be able to look at the levers you can pull to say, well, how am I going to 10X my business? How am I going to make, position us to be able to manage more customers with the same team that we have today? And how's that possible with automation, right? So those are things that we're excited about. We're excited about sharing that. And the other thing to note is that we have an upcoming webinar, which is episode number 2 on retaining and growing existing relationships. And we're going to have Kendricks and Dave on our team talk about that. And it's got a similar dynamic because Kendricks actually comes from the MSP world as well. So he's got a lot to share with you about what it means to retain and grow existing relationships. And then Dave, who runs our account management team, it comes from the AM world, right? So a lot of good stuff from that standpoint as well. So in closing, let me hand it off to Adam. Adam.
Yeah, love to have a chance to talk to you guys about Liongard and how we do kind of close that manual to automation gap. So you can request someone on one demo, on the website. You can call us at that 1-800 number. You can email us at sales@liongard.com. Of course, you can always hit any of us up on LinkedIn. And we're good with smoke signals, miming, we're keeping an eye out for you guys. We always want to engage with you. If you're already a partner, already an MSP geek, join via the link, via that channel. And then, if you're a current partner, join us in the Liongard Lounge. Our culture is such. We love engaging with all of you, and we do like to keep it light and have fun. We have a pretty cool culture, and we're not bad people. Hang around if we ever get back on the road again. We look forward to seeing everybody. Those first few shows, guys, are going to be crazy. They're going to be so much fun.
Can't wait. We do have one question, guys. So Bo wants to know, how do minimums work for smaller MSPs?
How do minimums work for our customer? So that's something to definitely talk to the sales team, and so we have this minimum commit of 15 customers, and if you've got a situation where you're smaller than that, get in touch with us, and then we'll figure something out. So that's something definitely keep in touch with us on that, and then beyond that. The other thing I do want to mention is, in that, the biggest challenges thing, the other item was this analysis paralysis on, what's the best path forward. And that's a tough one, right? It's like, what do we do? Should we do this? Should we do that? The things that I would think about is put a framework in place and have a vision, right? EOS speaks to this. They call it the Vision Traction Organizer. You really have to get that down. You've got to figure out what it is that you're out to do, what makes you different and unique. Going back to that, strategy canvas with the Blue Ocean strategy. And so in a lot of ways, when you have that analysis paralysis, don't look outward, look inward. Think about what's your 10X? What's the business able to do uniquely? What is, as a leader in the company, what are the leader's unique capabilities? And then put that DNA into practice to help you make the decisions about what you need to focus on. Should you focus on cloud only? Should you focus on hybrid? Should you still focus on on-premise, right? And when you think about like the type of clients you're thinking about, the same thing goes with verticals, right? Should I focus on manufacturing, healthcare? Do I not care what vertical they're in? Should I go beyond my geographic boundary? There's so many of these things, but again, look to your own customer base that you have right now and go, hey, where do I do really well? Like, which customers just absolutely love us? And they're like, dude, you guys rock. I'm going to tell you right now, the one thing I didn't do is I did not ask for referrals. Ask those best customers, just like, promise me you'll do this. Pick your best customer, and I'm telling you, you will not regret it. Go ask them and go, please, I'd love to get referrals from you. You love our business. Can you do that? Because this means a lot to me. You say it that way, I'm going to tell you they'll probably give you 2 to 3 referrals. And there's a high chance you're going to close one of those, right? So that's something that's important. And what that does is it helps you get out of analysis paralysis because you start to find your sweet spot. And that sweet spot is where your whole team is going to operate at the best rate.
Terry, the question, do you see any issues with focusing on multiple verticals, or should we focus on one at a time? Do you want to
that's a really good question. And, I'll have an opinion on this, Adam. You might have one.
Yeah.
I think the lesson from this past year is focusing on just one vertical could be a little bit risky, right? The traditional thought process is focus on a vertical and, really do well there. And without a doubt, I think that's important. But I think we ought to think about resilience as well. And so maybe, think about 2 verticals that are very, very different in nature, and use the pandemic as an example and go, okay, if I'm in one of those verticals that were impacted, let's pick a vertical that was not impacted and make sure that you have 2 that are kind of polar opposites in terms of their business model. That still means that they could operate in the same way so that you can standardize the way you offer. But verticalized specialization does make you more of an expert. And without a doubt, it makes you the propeller head in the room, and you can own it, right? You can own that room when you go after that customer. So there is value in still continuing to look at that. But I would just say, diversify a little bit. Don't go after just one vertical.
Yeah, and what I would cherry pick on that is the way that you do it on the vendor side, which is really the same way. We're all doing the same thing. Is when you diversify, don't diversify with the same team, because those different verticals, they have a different language, they have different problems and pain points. So the way that that I've done it is, if let's say we were going to go into a different vertical and it was non-MSP. Right. And we did this certainly at the big platforms like Kaseya and ConnectWise. And so you didn't blend them. I had separate teams because the way we communicated to them was very different. So you can diversify within a company, but still maintain that expertise aligned to that vertical.
Yeah, no, Adam, that's a good point. And I think reading into Terry's question, the other point to say is, is it okay to focus on multiple verticals? I think it's okay. And here's why. Find the consistent pattern that exists across those verticals and make that your sweet spot. It doesn't necessarily always have to be about what that end customer is doing. It could be about the way they do business, right? It could be that, hey, these are cloud-only businesses, or these are businesses that rely on a specific set of line of business applications, or they use SQL Server databases or whatever, right? Find a pattern. And I think that's what matters more, because what you're trying to do is find a repetitive business model, and that's what you're trying to do, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be in the same vertical.
I just want to call out Alec. Yeah, Alec, I see your note, how you had to do the salary reduction because, Daniel was your largest vertical. So, something to take away there. And by the way, something that, this year has been challenging. We've heard it. By the way, I've heard it on the vendor side. Have heard it on the MSP side, people having to make some tough choices. But, in the end, I was really proud of a lot of people leaning forward to take some of those pay cuts. A lot of great companies that said, hey, look, rather than letting people go, they'd rather do a salary reduction. Sometimes people did have to let people go. We're all looking forward to a better year next year and being able to get back together and get business going again. I'm an eternal optimist. Things are looking better. Very hopeful with the news on a vaccine, and look forward to seeing everybody. But thanks for sharing that, Alec. Really appreciate the candor.
Absolutely. And we did an awesome panel back in November about sales, scalability, culture, and security. And I did drop a link it's just in our Liongard YouTube channel. But definitely, we dove into a lot of the topics that we discussed today, a little bit deeper on that one. And if you're interested, I put that in there for y'all. Okay.
Let's do this, Cynthia. Let's do this.
Who is going to get an Oculus?
Did I win?
I won, Adam. All right.
If you won, we know there's tomfoolery.
Who's it going to be?
Wait, do they have to be here in the chat?
Yeah, but no one left. Everyone's here.
Okay.
All right.
All right. John McWilliams.
Let's see you, John. Can you give us
John?
Where are you, John?
McWilliams.
30 seconds. TikTok.
Come on, John.
Right? He's got a post over here. He's got to send us a note.
I can look and see if he's still in here. I see him.
John, you there?
There he is. Congratulations, John.
You won the Oculus. Woo-woo! That is great.
We promised to have it to you by 2023. What's the?
No. I'm picking it up on the 19th. So we'll get it to you.
You gotta post something on social media with that Oculus.
Absolutely. Please tag us so we don't miss it. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Again,
give us some referrals, like Joe said.
Yeah, right. Book a demo. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Adam and Joe love to talk, as you can see, and they've got tons of great information to help MSPs like you grow. Again, thank you for being here, and make sure that you come to our second one. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys. Guys and gals.